Dave Smith is pretty mad. He's like very mad. He wants Trump impeached and removed. I have the clip here. It's kind of short.
I haven't watched it yet, so I would want to watch it before we have
reactions.
Context here.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much gray area here. Here, let me share this with chat, and I'll get your reactions because it's pretty. I don't know. It's kind of a full blown meltdown, but also, you know, I kind of understand maybe what's going on here. So here's Dave Smith.
It was in 2007 that the Pentagon told George W. Bush that we cannot go to war with Iran because we do not have escalation dominance against them, essentially meaning that they can hit all of our bases and embassies in the region, and we are very vulnerable to them. And we've already seen demonstrated since the Israeli attack that the Iranian, the missiles that they sent last year toward Israel, as many of us guessed, that wasn't really their best. They were intentionally making an attack that wouldn't really hurt anybody, that wouldn't really lead to a war, which Iran has done over and over again. But now we've pushed them to the point where they probably don't feel that they have the option not to respond. And Donald Trump telling them to come back to the negotiating table now is a joke. Yeah. I mean, what a impotent leader.
By the way, I totally disagree with that because they did come back to the negotiating table. I get where he's coming from, but he's sounding kind of emotional here.
Yeah, but who's returning to the negotiation table? It's now more radicalized individuals since the first negotiators were assassinated, and more hardliners are replacing them now. That's another aspect of it that people don't understand. It's like Donald Trump bragged about taking out the people he was negotiating with. The people who replaced them, they're now working from a perspective of now being more radicalized, being more hardline, but also now understanding that Trump wants to kill them too, and could kill them at any moment in time, along with the Israelis.
Yeah.
That kind of boxes negotiation.
Oh, I agree. Hey, Baba. Huck just came running in here 100 miles an hour. Please don't knock anything over.
He wants to weigh in on the Dave Smith situation.
And telling FDR, now's the time to go negotiate with the Japanese. Negotiations are over now. The time for negotiations was before this. And so, yeah, Donald Trump looks, and man, I supported him this last year. I apologize for doing so. It was a bad calculation. At the time, it seemed like the right one. But he should be impeached and removed for this one, and not on some like not on some ridiculous Nancy Pelosi. Of course, the Congress will never do it because they're all a bunch of corrupt hacks.
This is the one thing they support. This is like
Donald Trump should be.
That's actually a good point that I think Dave missed. Like, there's a lot of people in Congress that want war with Iran, like a lot, and have wanted it for 20 years.
MTG is, I think, the only one willing to actually speak out against this.
Yeah.
Be impeached and removed for this. All of his supporters should turn on him. It's the absolute betrayal of everything that he ran and campaigned on and everything that he stood for. And I will say, despite the fact that, Donald Trump supporters have been labeled like a cult following, and that certainly is true for a percentage of his supporters, he is going to lose his coalition over this. I don't just speak for myself when I say there are a lot of us who simply will not go along with this. So it's just a devastating mistake. By the way, on top of that, he's also going to lose the deportation fight because of this. Because right now he needed all the political capital he could have to turn that, you got a majority support for deportations, but the minority is very mobilized and they're out and they're protesting all around the country. He needed all of his political capital for that move. So here's what we got. The neocons win. More war abroad and, bomb the world and invite the world. No matter who you vote for, you always get John McCain.
Yeah. Where do you think he went wrong? What do you think he said that you guys disagree with or think is a crash out here?
Well, I know for a fact that Iran has come back to the table, and he acted like that was an impossible thing. They absolutely did come back to the table. Now, your point of them being more hardliners is true, but that's not what Dave said. Dave said that there would be no chance for negotiation. I don't know when this was recorded. I think it was this morning. And
the negotiation news just came in this morning. So
right. So I don't know if I don't know where in the timeline Dave is when he recorded this.
CNN is reporting that the Iranians don't want to negotiate. Wall Street Journal is saying that they do want to negotiate. The truth is that they have reached out to a lot of their Islamic partners in the region and are saying, if the United States promises not to get involved, because now the United States is moving significant military hardware over into the Middle East now. The Iranians said, if Donald Trump doesn't get involved offensively, because he's already involved defensively, but if he doesn't get involved offensively against us, then we will negotiate. So that's their approach to what they're saying.
But I'm fine with that, aren't you?
That's if Donald Trump agrees. So from what I'm hearing, and this is from my sources, and this is what has been reiterated by a lot of other people, the decision to do offensive capabilities against Iran has already been greenlit by Donald Trump. Donald Trump is just waiting right now for the Iranians to run out of their ballistic missiles and defensive air defense missiles. So then he could send in the B-2 bombers and bunker busters that will take out the Iranian nuclear facility and then bomb the crap out of it. So that is the go-ahead that I've heard already is going on. And the only thing that could potentially stop it is our voice saying, Donald Trump, please do not do this. Well, that's why I think voicing concern now is more important than ever, because if we just kind of stay on the fence, go along with it, Donald Trump's going to carry out this plan, which in my opinion already has been greenlit from the sources that I talked to.
Well, Hannah Claire, I want to get because you have in-depth knowledge on the Mossad and Israel's ways. Here's one thing that
too much credit here, Jeremy.
Well, here's something I disagree with Dave too on. He says, according to Netanyahu and other sources, Trump had full prior knowledge of Israel's attack and gave it his blessing while pretending to be negotiating with the Iranians as cover.
That's true.
Now, okay, well, either you trust Bibi Netanyahu or you don't then. Because
Donald Trump would have obviously said something about this. He's saying that the strikes are excellent. He's saying that the Israelis are doing a wonderful job.
He hasn't said that he's any part of it though.
And there's multiple sources coming from the White House and coming from the Israelis that haven't been contested, saying specifically Donald Trump was a part of a disinformation campaign and Donald Trump greenlit all of this. And it looks like
but don't you think? Hold on,
he did greenlight all of this because Israel has been trying to do this for 20 years.
But don't you think it's possible, Luke? Hold on, do you think it's possible that Israel is doing this to try and suck us into the war?
No.
You think Netanyahu is just being honest right now for the first time ever in history?
No,
he's got no ulterior motives. He's
got no other. Yeah.
Bibi Netanyahu is now saying that it was the Iranians that tried to assassinate Trump twice. So
right, don't you think that it's at least possible that
it's the sources within the White House, it's the sources within the Israeli government coming out and saying Donald Trump greenlit this. Donald Trump hasn't given any indicators that he didn't.
He needs to do that.
This is my argument to why he did greenlight it. Because Bibi and the Israeli government have been trying to do this ever since the 1990s. And they weren't able to during the Bush years. They weren't able to during the Obama years. They weren't able during Trump's first administration. And they've been trying every single time to try to bomb Iran. And they could only do it if they have the expressed approval from the United States, because they understand unless the United States defends them, they're screwed. So the United States absolutely gave them the green light because they wouldn't have done it because they would have done it originally on their own many years ago. They know that they need America's support, and they have America's support. And America is the one that is shooting down the Iranian missiles right now, running defense for them. So the Americans did green light this, did approve this 110%.
It's hard for me, and this is probably a simpleton's view on the issue, but it would be amazing to me that Donald Trump would greenlight this the weekend of his military parade. And I know that sounds really reductionist, but like this is something he has been working towards for a long time, and it got completely upstaged by both the No Kings protest. He doesn't really have any control over that, but moreover,
but it's even more preposterous.
And if this is really the thing about his personality, that he is like very interested in patriotism and these displays, if we spent multi-million dollars on this, it would be surprising to me that he would greenlight them now.
It's even more surprising that the Israelis would say, we're going to screw over your birthday, we're going to screw over your parade, and we're going to act against your will. That is more preposterous.
No, see, that seems more realistic to me.
That seems, I have to agree. I think that, first of all, we know for a fact that Trump did, they wanted to assassinate the supreme leader, and Trump said no.
That's according to the sources.
Correct. Well, yeah, everyone's sources.
You're picking and choosing with sources right now. You're saying that,
of course,
White House sources haven't been corroborated, or haven't been contradicted, and you're saying other sources are wrong. So we have to treat
that, of course, aligns here and makes sense throughout the years, right? If you look at the story of what the Israelis have been trying to do, that they haven't been able to do, that now they're able to do, they're only able to do it with our support, with our approval. They weren't able to do it without that, and that's pretty clear.
I don't believe that.
I don't think. I mean, I'm pretty sure they used our weapons, obviously.
Yeah,
but
they used our weapons, they used our munitions, they used our intelligence.
I know,
but
but
using our defense
they've had
right
access
now.
to for
So
years.
you're
and
telling
years
us we're not
years.
involved.
The
You're
timing doesn't
telling
make
us
sense
Donald
to
Trump.
me.
You're telling us BB surprised Donald Trump and did this against his will. Is that what you guys
yes,
are saying?
yes,
Yeah,
that's what I
definitely
believe.
think that.
Where's the proof of that?
Well, how about this? Okay, now if you're going to just say that this source isn't real, that I can't refute it. But Bibi Netanyahu has said that he doesn't care that Iran has asked for peace talks, and that he has also put the assassination. That's Nick Shirley's reporting. Okay, you trust Nick Shirley, right? Nick Shirley said that Netanyahu has said, I'm trying to find the tweet here, that he doesn't care about them wanting peace. He doesn't care, but he's still going to just attack them. Like, does that sound like a guy that has asked America for permission? I don't think so. I think he if that report is true, he has said, I don't give a shit about Iran.
Why did the United States, before the attack, send 20,000 missiles away from Ukraine to Israel? Why is
because Israel bought them.
Always support Israel? Isn't that kind of our signature
Why is the United
move?
States sending anti-drone systems from Ukraine to Israel right now?
They're buying them.
No. The
Don't you
Israelis,
think?
the Israelis have been given a lot of the stuff. They haven't bought a lot of the stuff. Let's just be.
Is that
let's be
a
honest
break
with
in
ourselves.
tradition? Don't we do that all the time for Israel?
Give them stuff. Yeah.
Wait, maybe not
Yeah,
Nick Shirley.
so,
I
Again, why
confused.
now?
It's not Nick Shirley. It's the other guy. He's on Timcast all the time.
To believe that the United States didn't give the go-ahead, I think, is not reasonable. And I know we
Okay,
want to
okay.
believe-
Let's say they gave him the go-ahead.
Let me finish. I know.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't want it to be true either. I don't want it to be true. But the fact, I think there is more overwhelming circumstantial evidence highlighting that absolutely Donald Trump approved this because of his statements afterwards, because of the U.S. actions afterwards.
I'm not saying that they didn't approve it. I'm saying they've got nothing to do with it. Like,
But when you're defending a country, when you're giving them the gun, when you're giving them the bullets, when you're giving them the intelligence, and then you're defending them afterwards, they shot somebody, you're involved. Let's just be real.
fair. I mean, I think that they're obviously. I think that the rest of the world will see the United States as being involved. But I think that when you have like reports of BB saying, I don't give a shit, or it's a Colin Rugg, when you have reports of BB saying, I don't give a shit, when you have the IDF bombing news agencies while they're live on air, I don't think this is shit that Donald Trump signed off on. I really don't. But
He
also
would be speaking out against it, but he's not. He's.
I
calling
know
it.
he should.
He's saying these
He
strikes are
should.
excellent, but he's not. But why isn't he?
That seems normal to me for Trump's negotiating style. I mean, it seems like whether or not he had prior knowledge of what Israel was going to do, first off, arguing that we gave them military supplies, like, I agree, we should stop doing that. But that's been
Yes.
true for decades, right? Like, that's not specific to this last weekend.
It is
I also
because it
think that
increased
Donald Trump is
significantly.
unlikely to try and isolate Netanyahu by being too openly critical right now if the goal is to negotiate some kind of ceasefire.
Yeah,
The ceasefire is not going to happen here. It's going to be regime change. That's going to
Oh,
happen.
I
Right,
totally
that's-
agree. But if you're
Yeah,
if
but
you're
it's
Trump,
happening.
you're not
but
trying
if
to
you're
isolate
Donald
people
Trump,
we have to
right?
bring
And
to
you
the
promise
table.
no Middle Eastern wars. You have the power to say, Israel, I'm not going to give you weapons. I'm not going to give you defense. You better stop doing this. He hasn't done any of that. He's done the exact opposite of that, which is enabling this conflict, whether it was directly or indirectly. We don't even have to. We could agree to disagree here. You guys say there's no green light. I say there's a green light. We could agree to disagree with. But currently, what the United States is doing is enabling and propelling this conflict by aiding, abetting, giving the weapons, giving the defense. Yes or no?
well, yeah,
That
of
was
course,
true
but they
of
were
the
always
Israel
doing that.
Gaza conflict too. Like, this has always been the U.S.'s role in Israel, and we have all said it multiple times that perhaps this shouldn't be our focus. That at least I feel like our focus should be at home.
Absolutely,
I can't
100%. But it's
speak to
not.
the fact
And
of whether or not anything was greenlit in this case. But I do think that to think that Trump is just going to suddenly openly condemn Netanyahu is kind of a pipe dream.
Yeah, he may not be happy. He may have said stuff behind the scenes. I don't know.
publicly, he's enabling and saying, excellent, great job. They're doing awesome.
I agree, but that's not him saying I co-sign it or that I took part in it or I greenlit anything. He's just saying, Hey, he
The
literally
Iran-
said,
the Israelis would never do this unless they had the green light from America, because
don't
they've been
believe
trying
that.
to do this.
I
for 20 years.
disagree. I think
They've been trying
Netanyahu's
to do this for
crazy.
20 years. Why are they doing it now?
Isn't this the guy
They
that bombed
think
his
they
own
can.
citizens so that he could justify a war? Like, the stuff that Netanyahu has done is actually heinous.
I'm with Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson came out. He just did the interview with Steve Bannon, and his kind of point of view on this, I think, is 100%. Matt Walsh, MTG, 110%. I'm in line with this. There's a lot of fog of war. There's a lot of disinformation. There's a lot of anonymous sources, right? The facts speak for themselves. The United States is aiding and abetting and participating in this conflict and not doing anything to try to resolve and stop it.
that we know of.
That we know of.
Trump
Because
has
Obama's
openly
still
called for them to come back to the table.
The Iranians released a statement saying, as soon as Israel stops bombing us, we'll stop bombing them. Right. So
Right.
if you're Donald Trump and you truly,
And then,
really want to end
but
the
Luke,
war,
what
you
did Bibi say?
You say this: if you're truly not a part of a disinformation campaign, if you truly didn't really greenlight this, if you're truly really not happy about this, this is what Donald Trump should be doing. He should be saying, Israel stop, Iran stop. We now negotiate.
Well, that's I agree. But
But
Iran,
and guess what? It won't, because there's a different scenario happening behind the scenes that is
Iran
and not comfortable for a lot of us to realize.
Iran just said that like an hour ago. It was reported, right? Hour or
No,
two
that
ago.
was 2 days ago. They said to their foreign minister that as soon as Israel stops bombing, we'll stop bombing.
Well, I just read an article that they said they would come back to the table.
Yeah, an
That
hour
came
ago.
out.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
They would come back to the table an hour ago. If the United States promises not to get involved, they would negotiate.
Right, but so you're right. Now Trump should say, "Hey, stop the bombs, let's get this done." Trump should say that. But this was an hour ago. Give Trump a minute to like comment on it. You're saying
But he's not going to do this.
we'll see.